Welcome, teachers, to the Instructional Teaching Rounds Flip video. I'm your host, Mr. Land. This content is being made specifically for you prior to your arrival at Mission Junior High School in my room, and I'm really happy to have you come in to my room for instructional rounds. So I figured that I would use my flipped video model, not my flipped video model, but the flipped video model to kind of get you to kind of see the perspective of the students if you were to try out a flipped model. The flipped model was invented years ago through a series of different collaborative efforts, all the way going back to John Bergman and Aaron Sams. And what we're going to do here is we're going to introduce some really basic, simple information, and we're going to try to keep it simple, and then at the end we're going to get you to work on that information. So by the time you come to class and you visit with me on the instructional rounds, hopefully you have some knowledge, and more importantly, you have something to think and work from. That way we can already kind of start the learning process before you arrive. And that is really instrumental, because that way we can build at a higher level of cognitive learning in this collaborativeness, in this dialogue. So in this way, teachers, you are going to be like the students. And well, a good teacher is always a good student. And so here we go, shall we? We're going to keep it short and simple here for you. My name is Mr. Land. I am a teacher at Mission Junior High. And so I want to thank Ms. Rodriguez for coming into the classroom and helping you do some instructional rounds. I haven't had a chance to do any rounds myself in a long time, but it was always a pleasure and an honor to be available to go into other teachers who were voluntarily open to the rounds. Doing rounds should always be voluntary. It should not be something that is done on a required or checklist basis. So we want to welcome you. You're always welcome to my room anytime you need. Ms. Rodriguez comes in all the time. I always call her up. She's a good colleague and a good friend. We worked at Mission Junior High for many years together. We were actually on the same team together. I taught science. I'm a science teacher by trade. That's my discipline. That's what I went to school in. But right now I'm currently in 8th grade history. That's where I'm at. I've been teaching at Mission Junior High for 22 years. And I've known Ms. Judy Rod since that time as well, even going back a little further, I think, since we were teenagers. So what is it that we want to do is we want to collaborate, we want to dialogue, we want to pair share, we want to problem solve, we want to work on the hows, the pedagogies, right? The techniques, the skills, the practices. I call that the toolbox. A lot of teachers call it the toolbox. So if you have a big toolbox of skills, you can pull out all kinds of variations of ways to do things in class. And that can increase your effectiveness as a teacher when teaching content. It doesn't have to be anything massively huge or big. A tool can be just that, a simple means for getting that end result. And so when you coming into those instructional rounds, we want to dialogue that. We want to ask questions. We want to have that collaborative nature. We want to have trust. Trust is really important. And I know you don't know me personally well, but I am, after all these years, I'm open to sharing with the things that I've learned being in the classroom. That's why Judy Rod is so valuable to me as a teacher, because she's someone that I trust, that I'm constantly going back to feedback with, constant dialogue. So why do we do the rounds? Rounds are collaborative practice. So like I mentioned, we're problem solving. There's so many bullets that I could list for why to do the rounds. We want to diagnose our teaching skill. We want to have collaborative culture, which we talk a lot about, but it's important to actually practice that collaborative culture, meaning you actually have to sit down and dialogue with someone. We don't get a chance to do that very often in a day, right? Because our schedules are so jam-packed with stuff, and then we want to go home at the end of the day. But to get to those effective practices, we have to engage in that in some way. Now with all the tech available to us, we can do that. So we want to constantly create a cycle of learning, cycle of improvement. Rounds can help you do that. I mean, think about rounds in professions. There are many professions that do rounds. It's not just teachers, nurses, healthcare, physicians, architects in the science world, engineers are constantly doing rounds. We're observing other people's work. It informs us what's effective, what's working, maybe what's not working for us. And so when we do that, we want to observe, we want to debrief, we want to talk about it, and then we want to try it. And then if we see that problem arising, then that round can maybe give us them more ideas, because we're picking up ideas. That's really what we're doing. We're being reflective in our own selves to get ideas for what works for us, because we don't want to necessarily copy the things that we see, but we want to try out those skill sets, those tools, if you will. Okay, we don't want to imitate a person. We just want the skill, and we want to try it out in our own method. Okay, so what a round is always professional. It's always trustworthy. It's collegial. It's reflective, meaning that when we're sitting in that round, we're actually trying to think about us. We're not trying to think about anything else. We're trying to think about what we do and in that practice that we're observing. It's collaborative, it's communicative, right? It focuses on those skills, those instructional skills. We're trying to share best practices. I tell this to the young teachers all the time. If I'm a doctor and I know a better way to save a patient, wouldn't I share that method with you? Of course I would, because that's what the goal is. The goal is to help cure the patient. And so in education, we got to have that mindset a little bit. Hey, if I know something works, I'm going to share that with you. Let me share this skill with you. Let me share this technique with you. All right. It's about the observational teacher. In other words, a round isn't about me. I'm the teacher that's being observed. I'm the lead teacher. The round isn't about me. The round is about you, how you are reflecting upon what you are seeing. So it's not punitive. If they ask you to do a round and you say no, well, that's okay. You can say no. It's not evaluative. I'm not going to be in there going, hey, can you evaluate me? Can you give me feedback on how I'm doing? No, no, no. I'm not going to do that. It's not a checklist like you must go see teachers. It shouldn't be that way. It should be because you want to see where is that pocket of good teaching. We don't want to see isolated pockets of teaching. We want to see good practices being shared everywhere. How does that happen? Well, that happens when we communicate. That happens when we collaborate. That happens when we work together on those skills. It doesn't matter if you're in the same department or not. You don't have to be in the same department. I'm a science teacher by trade. I also taught theater arts forever. That does not mean that the skills that I have don't apply to good teaching. It's a tool, remember? It's a how. It's a toolbox. So those instructional rounds just kind of help us develop effective teaching strategies. Are the rounds going to cure everything that ails you in the classroom? No, it's not going to make your scores massively influential right off the bat. Not at all. But it's continuous. It's just always improving on that professional learning that you're trying to become, that embodiment of the skills that you need to have as a professional. And I say that in quotes because sometimes we don't always value what those skills are. We're not taking that to heart all the time. So the rounds are giving us that information, that feedback, telling us, is this working? Do I see something successful happening in this room right now? And I'm watching that lead teacher and I'm seeing what they're doing and I'm thinking about myself and I'm thinking, oh, do I do that? Oh, let me kind of internalize that and think about how I can maybe incorporate that. Or maybe I can take a technique that I'm thinking about that I do and I want to interpret that a little differently. I'm getting ideas. I'm getting that light bulb, right? So the instructional round isn't about fixing you. It's about collaborating. It's about working with with another person that maybe has a skill set that's a little better off. And so that way, when you go up to them and you have that debrief or you have that time to talk, you can say, hey, I saw you did this technique. Can you tell me about that? Or, where'd you get that? Or can you help me refine my technique? And then in that reflective practice is where that feedback is happening. And that's where you really start to learn. And then you go into your classroom, boom, you try it out. Then you can see for yourself. Hopefully there's some rounds happening with you, and then that can further enhance that feedback loop. So it's just constant collaboration. It just should be the norm. It's not the norm right now because of the way our schedules are set up and how crazy it can be, but it should be the norm. Okay, so because this is a flip video, if you were my students in class, you'd be watching some content and you'd be trying to get some content, some simple content. So teachers, right now, I'm going to ask you to actually process some information. So right now, I'm going to ask you to do a little work and to bring it with you to my classroom. That way we can actually have something to work off of. This would be what a flipped model would do. I would send a video to you. You would produce some work. In some manner, I would bring it back and then we would talk, we would collaborate. So that is the key of a flipped classroom. It's constant collaboration. I do that with the kids as much as I'm trying to do that with the teachers right now. So instead of doing a 3-2-1 ticket, which I'm not crazy about exit tickets all the time because I think they get over abused a lot, exit tickets, let's do a triangle, circle, square, or a triangle, square, circle, sorry. So this one's a different one, and I think the math teachers might like this one. So on a piece of paper, here's what I want you to do. I want you to draw a triangle, a square, and a circle. For the triangle, I want you to write out 3 points, get it? Triangle points, or key facts from the video, that anything that you picked up, facts, just straight facts, something factual. square. I want you to write down as many ideas that you found that maybe I presented to you today that really squared with you, like they really got to you, like, yeah, that makes sense. And then on that circle, right, we're going to treat that like our cabeza. So I want you to write 1 or 2 questions that you have that are still rolling around in that head of yours, all right? And that's what we're going to use as a basis to jump off of, okay? So I can't wait to meet you. I wish you the best, and I hope to see you there. And if I can help you in any way, I'm here for you guys, all right? So have a good one, and don't forget your homework. No, just kidding.